Hi everyone and welcome to week 2 presentation for MPA 545. My name's Evelyn Bright and let's get started with this week. Alright, so we'll get started with the introduction. The first slide's going to cover the conflict spirals. The second one is going to cover the conflict growth. Third one, transformational theory. And the fourth one, the lack of conflict resolution methods and conflict theories. So the first author I chose was Carpenter and Kennedy. It's on page 18 in paragraph 2, and it talks about conflict spirals, and it talks about how destructive it can be when the conflict turns into a conflict spiral, as mistrust and suspicion grow within the understanding of trying to resolve this conflict. They're unable to come up with a common goal, and they kind of, do their own thing on separate occasions. And it usually happens when nothing is done to manage the conflict when it occurs in that moment. So the conflict starts to spiral out of control, and then on top of that, there is no repercussions for the spiral of the conflict. The next slide, obviously, is going to be conflict growth. I chose Levine, Getting to Resolution. It's on page 2, paragraph 2. With conflict growth, it's talking about how it breaks down the trust among the people that are involved in the conflict. It's the lack of the communication. There is no communication when it comes to conflict growing. And people end up focusing on themselves, and it becomes more self-centered, more selfish. They're worried about how it looks for them compared to how it'll look as a collective unit. The concerns about the rights and entitlements with thinking about responsibilities. So like I said, when it comes to the ability to push aside your own feelings, your own emotions, your own ideas and thoughts to kind of go to a common goal to focus on building for a business or your employer or whoever it may be, to build the business instead of destroy it, and obviously work towards a common goal for the project at hand in that moment. And so the first theory that I chose was transformational theory, and I used Northrop, the dynamic of identity and personal and social conflict, and it's on page 9, paragraph 5. It talks about how when you deal with conflict, it goes through the stages, and in each stage might require a different strategy to combat the conflict at hand. And theories view conflict as dysfunctional, and perspective views conflict as tensions that are released and new communal norms are established. So when breaking down that little context right there about theories view conflict as dysfunctional, it's talking about the fact that if you have different perspective can make people view things very differently. And so I really liked this quote specifically from there. And obviously it's not verbatim, but perspective views conflict as tensions that are released. So conflict is a way for people to release their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions in that moment, because they disagree with something that is going on, or something that is going through with the project, or whatever it may be with the business. And it starts to create new norms for communication within that boundary and that setting. So creating new boundaries, creating new communication skills, creating new keys and to making things work is really is what transformational theory means to me in reality. All right, in the last slide, lack of conflict resolution methods and conflict theory. So I chose the first quote on page 1 from Toffler and Schwartz, Shockwave, and it discusses how there is a weakness in resolution methods for conflict. There isn't anybody coming together to come up with a resolution for conflicts that continuously occur in conflict theory, and how everything ties together with conflict theory. It talks about, weakness with the conflict resolution methods rather than guns and litigation. So there's more conflict in regards to that and there's weakness in that compared to, how the world views guns and lawsuits and litigation and all this types of stuff. And it talks about imaginative new ideas and conflict theory itself. So obviously it's all the theories that are discussed within conflict, and how the resolution, there needs to be more of it. And that's even domestically. It's within, businesses, um, friendships, family members, whatever it may be, but there needs to be some type of way to where everybody can, take the conflict and find a resolution to it and find one that is a win-win situation for everybody. All right, guys, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you guys have a great week. This is for the MPA 545 course and Professor Curtis. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next week.